Welcome back to the Dahlem Realty Company podcast, where we sit down with business leaders, innovators, and entrepreneurs shaping the future of our community and beyond. I'm Charlie Dahlem, alongside of my twin brother, Jim, and he is the co-host.
Thanks, Charlie. Today we're joined by someone who's become one of Kentucky's great modern success stories. His name is Ankur Gopal. He is the founder and CEO of Interapt, a technology company that's changing the way America thinks about talent, opportunity, and innovation.
Ankur started Interapt right here in Kentucky with a simple but powerful idea that tech talent can be developed anywhere if you invest in people. What began as a startup has grown into a nationally recognized company, training and employing hundreds through cutting-edge apprenticeships and digital workforce programs.
We'll talk with Ankur about his journey from local entrepreneur to one of the state's leading tech voices, how Interapt is bridging the skills gap, and what the future looks like for business and communities like ours.
It's an inspiring story about leadership, purpose, and building something bigger than yourself.
So let's get going. Here's our conversation with Ankur Gopal, CEO of Interapt. Thank you for coming and joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We've known each other a long time.
We have.
We have.
Yeah.
Sorry,
In a positive way.
it's
we
a positive
have.
way.
Yeah,
it's
great.
a positive way.
It is. You're doing some great stuff here. So let's go back to the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you started Interapt in your apartment, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And can you walk us through that early journey and maybe what the aha moment was when you took the concept to becoming a company?
Yeah. So the early part of the journey was kind of being from Owensboro, leaving for Chicago and Silicon Valley, and then starting a high-tech company. During my time away from Kentucky, I worked at Accenture, which was a high-tech services firm, and I was working on cutting-edge technology, like putting the U.S. Postal Service online. That was one of my biggest projects I did back in the day. My thesis was I started my own sort of tech services firm, and it was kind of to satiate the need for high-end digital applications. So when I launched the company in 2011, we were focused on being that same sort of elite IT services firm, but smaller and more nimble than my former employer and others that had different models. So the idea of helping Fortune 1000 companies execute complex mobile and web strategies was a thesis, which worked. As we know, the mobile commerce replaced e-commerce, or at least came alongside of it. We were able to win great clients. We had great ideas, but we ran into an impossible business bottleneck, which I couldn't staff the projects. So the traditional recruiting model that I use, as you grow a business, you're like, oh, great, I just need more people. Let me go get them. That was failing us. We were spending massive amounts of time and money competing for a small, expensive pool of developers who oftentimes lacked the specific knowledge we needed. The aha moment was realizing it wasn't really a shortage of talent, but a shortage of pipeline, especially here in Kentucky. If I couldn't buy the talent that I needed to scale, I had to build it. So that pivotal decision of pivoting from a purely services firm to a proprietary services and talent manufacturing platform, that's what kind of turned us into that scalable high growth company and moved us along our way. Even though we didn't plan on doing that initially, it was something that we had to solve during our journey, and it turned out to become not only super profitable, but also super impactful.
Cool.
And that was just creating your own talent. Instead of, you're running around Louisville, Kentucky trying to find people that were qualified for tech jobs, and you had to go and say, this person's a good who, I can teach them and make them this. Is that right?
That was the end game. But at the beginning, I was recruiting in Louisville. I was recruiting, so people in Louisville, like students from the top engineering schools or companies, all wanted to leave, or they were getting recruited by the Googles and Facebooks of the world and wanted to go out west or east. And then the people in Louisville that I recruited, they may not have had the specific skill set. So I literally said, I'm tired of convincing people to come to Louisville because I know it's a great place and I love being here. Rather than just trying to convince people how great it is and they should be here, I just said, let me find people who already like living here and give them an opportunity and get them up to speed where I need them to be.
Okay. So you grew up in Owensboro, Kentucky, as you said.
I did.
Right? And your parents are first-generation immigrants, correct?
They are.
Okay. Did that background shape your perspective as an entrepreneur at all?
Absolutely. I think that it definitely did, and especially the later sort of maturing moments of our company. It did a couple things. So that experience in Owensboro, where my parents were two of the first Indian people in town. In fact, my dad was the second Indian person of Indian descent in Owensboro in the late 60s. It gave me an appreciation for the first chance, meaning there were people in my dad's company, Texas Gas Transmission Corporation, that helped him out. They supported him. Executives invited him to their house for dinner, and kind of gave him that sort of warm family blanket that he didn't have. His whole family was in India. My mom, when she came here, assimilation is a real thing. You don't know what the community does. So people taught her how to do simple things like drive, grocery shop, et cetera, et cetera. So those sort of moments were really pivotal in my parents' journey because they were homesick like anyone would be, but people made them feel at home, made them feel comfortable, and helped them out when they needed it. So that whole first chance, that whole support thing was really ingrained in me at an early time. And it directly translates to our business strategy. My parents, of course, have demonstrated relentless effort and built a life from scratch. And that work ethic and drive are universal, but the opportunity is not always there. People don't always get that support and get that help. And that's usually what may drive them to versus succeeding or not succeeding. So as an entrepreneur, this background sort of taught me to look where others weren't. When I look at talent, I don't see a resume. I see high aptitude human capital that is currently undervalued by the market. And by providing the skills and the structure, I tap into a pool of highly motivated, highly loyal individuals who will outwork and outperform primarily because they know this is their shot. That gives us a competitive edge and in talent acquisition that money just simply can't buy. Our retention rates are super high. Our quality ratings are super high. And I attest that to the people we're finding and just giving them some skills to back it up.
Okay, so for our listeners, let's talk a little bit about how you describe your business model. What problems are you solving for your customers? What do you do?
This may be a full other podcast episode just for this one question, but I
Cliff Notes.
Yeah. So we have elevator pitched this, and we have tried. A lot of times people say, "Oh, you sound like a staffing company," and wait, like no way, you're an outsourcing company. No way, you're neither. And so we do live in that nebulous gray area between staffing and outsourcing. So that's the first thing we realize. But our model is a proprietary integrated talent and services platform, which is a lot of jargon, I know, but it's the talent to execution gap. So if you think about it, let's say you win a contract in construction and you need 100 people to build a building and you only have 10, you've got to go find 90 people in the market. Well, if they don't know how to follow your processes, follow your procedures, use the machines use the materials you have, you've got a learning curve. You got to teach them all that stuff before they become effective on your project. And that's the same thesis we use. We said, well, what if we just custom built the talent, knowing exactly what the tools were needed, what the tech stack is, what the clients are doing, to help shorten that ramp up time and learning curve that costs a ton of money and time, as we both know. So the difference that we kind of see from a staffing or an outsourcing company is that what makes us unique is that we don't just fill a seat or a body. We create a high-performing, high-retention asset. So the difference of that is rooted in the mindset. So the rest of the industry looks at talent acquisition as a bidding war for the same 5-year experienced veteran. We look at it as an investment in human capital with incredible upside. So when you give someone a life-changing opportunity like we do, this job may be the greatest thing that's ever happened to them in their life. And that we've heard that from them. So when you do that, you're unlocking a level of commitment, gratitude, and loyalty that just simply doesn't exist in the existing market. And we saw that over the past 10 years in the tech space, where people were job jumping for the highest bidder, and loyalty was not rewarded, nor you were docked for it. You were just bid upon, and you jumped for 10, 20% more salary.
So when you're hiring folks, just kind of explaining, you engage a company that has a tech need, and you have these individuals who you have trained up, and they go out and work in that company to help solve that need, correct?
One correction that when we have a company that has a talent problem, for example, when they say I need 100 people and I only have 10, we'll say, okay, what do you want those 90 people to be able to do on day one? And so then when we learn that from them, we reverse engineer the curriculum that way. And so we say, okay, they need to know these 14 things. So we build a curriculum with our partners to make sure they know those 14 things. And we, in a 3-month boot camp, we basically make sure that they are progressing on all 14 every step of the way, that they can meet the credentials that our clients set forth, and we make sure that they can deliver. So a lot of times in the tech world, when you're doing an interview for a tech company or a tech role, you do what's called a codability test, or it's part of a technical interview where they give you questions to answer. And we've seen people from many colleges and boot camps fail those miserably just because they were taught a lot of theory and not necessarily a lot of practical usage of the work. And that's where we make sure that the people can deliver and pass that test. We don't teach to the test per se, but we're making sure they have the skill set and the knowledge base to pass that test, which of course is a really strong indicator of success down the road for our clients and for them.
And so, they complete that assignment, for lack of better terms, or whatever, and the project is over. Your job is you've got to be out filling the pipeline for the next project that you can take those people and move them to.
Correct. Right? Correct. We're a just-in-time factory. The one thing we don't do is I don't train 1,000 people. Say, why don't you just train 2,000, 3,000 people? I said, and the funny thing is, we have a 6,500 person pipeline waiting list right now for our project and our programs. The reason I don't do that is because once you're learning something in 3 months, you've got to take that. You can't just train for the Olympics for 3 months and then have the Olympics 2 years later. It's literally the day after they finish the class. Maybe they get a few days to relax and then they go straight to their job. So it's that continuity that also we bring. That's why we call it a tech talent factory. We turn the factory on, and when we turn it on, it's not a 3-month sort of build. It is a 3-month plus 1 year apprenticeship that then allows them to continue on. So it's a 15-month sort of build if you look at it end to end.
Okay.
So you're working with creating talent. So how do you balance the twin goals of delivering business value to clients and creating opportunity for non-traditional talent? I mean, does it ever compete for you?
Yeah, the short answer is no. They don't compete. They accelerate each other. So we've engineered it. So the way we've engineered our company is that our mission is our competitive moat. So because delivering business value, as you both know, requires stability, skill, and speed. Creating opportunity delivers superior versions of all of those things. So think of it this way. Our model recruits highly loyal employees, which means our client teams have significantly lower turnover. As you know, if somebody leaves mid-project, you've got a gap to fill.
Problem.
Right. So lower turnover means projects are delivered more consistently, institutional knowledge of the project and the skill set is retained, and the client satisfaction is higher. There's a direct link from employee gratefulness all the way to shareholder value for our customers. So that's kind of the thesis that we have been building in our mission, and it's become, and again, I have to remind people we're a for-profit company with a strong mission. And that's why we were able to be profitable, successful, and have scaled around the country.
And that was another question. So you have scaled this all over the country. And as far as repeat clients go, what's your percentage of repeat clients? It's got to be large.
It's 100%.
Yeah.
And I'm laughing because nobody ever. Then you're just a liar if you say everybody. But I'm telling you, the hardest part is not retaining the client. It's convincing the client to do something different. This is a different way of thinking about talent development, recruiting, retention, upskilling, all that stuff. We're a very unique company. So when you buy it, you buy more of it because the return is like, hey, this is high quality, low cost, high retention, and low headache. I mean, it's all those things.
Low headache for the client.
Yeah. That's right. So educating clients that this is the way to do it, or this is a way to do it, is kind of that's what I wake up every morning doing, and I'm waiting for the moment where everyone starts doing it, and I stay even busier. Yeah.
So how do you evaluate and select clients to make sure they align with your mission? I mean, do you ever turn somebody away because there's a misalignment that doesn't work for you?
You're asking me
have you ever fired a client? We don't want to work with you.
I have. So yes, I have fired clients. And
no names.
And yeah, exact no name, but that's the thing about the model. It's not for everyone, and we have to be disciplined about who we decide to work with. So misalignment can damage the talent supply chain, and it doesn't work for the individual or for us. So if they don't meet our criteria, we'll evaluate in a couple things, not just budget, but also cultural alignment. So if the project complex enough to provide meaningful growth? Are the people going to actually learn a real skill, or are they just going to be, doing data entry, which will be replaced by AI in 30 days? So we make sure that not only are our clients aware of what we're doing. I'm not trying to fill bodies. I'm trying to make careers and for people and for companies that want it. So that's something that we're doing. So we've had to coach clients a little bit, say, hey, you have to communicate with our people, you have to communicate with our leadership. And so it's kind of a few things here and there to kind of ensure the success of the project. Nothing bad, but if somebody is just like, hey, I only need a few people for 2 months, that's not us. That's a short-term staffing company, and let me give you the numbers of several good ones that I know. So that's an example of how we make sure that the customer knows exactly what we're doing. That's why enterprise clients are key for us, because they do want long-term commitment. They do want high quality and of course low cost.
Yeah, it's in the shopping center business. It's obviously not exactly the same because you're dealing with people.
We're dealing with people here.
But we are dealing with people in the shopping center business, and you try to put together what's called a tenant mix, and sometimes you have to say that doesn't fit, and you have to leave the space vacant, or sometimes a certain tenant might knock on our door and say they like to lease from us, and we just don't like that use. For instance, a vape shop does not fit with our culture. So we won't do that. And somebody knocks on the door and says, can we just try this for a couple months? No, that doesn't really work.
Yep.
So I hear you.
Sometimes it's tough to do that, but that's the vision and the discipline.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Do you, all right, so you've got the strong apprenticeship program. Talk a little bit about the people who are coming into it. I mean, many of them are underrepresented. They're veterans. They're making career changes because something's knocked them out of whatever career that they were coming into. I mean, you obviously have had some great outcomes, and you've got a good ingredient. But talk about some of those people that you're looking for.
So it's funny. The first time I ever did this was when I told you I was just tired of recruiting people. I said I'm going to find people that just live in Louisville. They were mostly college graduates. They were English majors, anthropology majors, music majors, meteorology majors. That just were having trouble finding jobs. And so we took them on. Then later on in the journey, we got asked to do that for people in Appalachia where coal decline was causing job loss. We took high school graduates for the most part, or people that had very minimal exposure to tech, and we were able to successfully do that there. So we've had this sort of precedent. So we've tried this with multiple, let's call them demographics. We were called to Atlanta to do it in the poorest zip code in Atlanta, so highly dense urban area, and then we were asked to do it in Chicago, and then you talk about career pivoters or veterans that are transitioning from military service into civilian life, women that are returning to the workforce. So we have tested this with so many different demographics that, frankly, we never really looked at the demographics. We just said who's willing to give us the number one criteria we're looking for, and that criteria is high performance commitment. Who's able to do that? So I've had executives' children. They're asking, can you meet with them and give them some advice? And I tell them, well, hey, I've got this program, and maybe it'd be something you'd be good at, but I need your 100% commitment. Your dad's not going to be here to save you. I need you to be here and show up, because I know you've had trouble staying focused on something. So I give them a kind of the tough love talk. And it's funny enough, those folks, if they're willing to do the commitment, it works. I mean, I think, so if you talk about the people we were able to train, the common threads between all the demographics is, number one, we remove the barrier. So there's no excuse to learn. We pay people while they learn. We cover their cost of tuition. We don't make them sign any sort of indentured servant agreement. We just ask them to pass. There's the loyalty multiplier, because some of the people that are coming in they're sometimes the first to go to college, and they just didn't get a good degree or didn't go to a high quality school. So they feel the pressure of succeeding. So we help them get a little bit more aligned. And then, of course, the loyalty multiplier is there. The metric, our 4-year retention rate in a tech company is 84%. That's pretty
strong.
Unheard of in the tech world. But people stay with us because they like our program. They trust the process. They like working with us. They know we're no one left behind sort of culture. And that's what's really been beneficial to us. So the last piece of it is that, how we make these folks really successful is the pod model. So we don't just say, here's a bunch of bodies that have been trained for 3 months. Good luck to you and good luck to them. Our model includes senior and mid-level developers in a pod. So a pod, think of one senior person of 5 to 7 to 10 years of experience, a mid-level person of 3 to 7 years, and then 6 junior people that just had 3 months, right? Having that sort of group of folks support each other and mentor each other and also guide each other, that's kind of what some of the secret sauce is that we're not just throwing bodies at a problem. We're doing it in a very thoughtful and systematic way.
On some of those programs that you mentioned, like Atlanta and Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
are those still ongoing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Our clients are still there, and they're saying, get us more. And in fact, what started in Chicago is now expanded to Dallas, Phoenix, Connecticut, Rhode Island.
Wow.
Amazing. Yeah. So as a technology services firm, you're working with Fortune 1000 clients. What key trends are you seeing now? There's AI, digital transformation, et cetera. What do you see that excites you, and also what do you see that kind of scares you, makes you feel more cautious?
Yeah, the good old AI, right? It's
Yep.
can't do an interview without that
Get away
question.
with it. Yep.
But you're right. Though that is exciting. That is the rapid maturation of AI, actually applied AI, not just. So we moved past the novelty and into enterprise level execution in AI. So think of that. That's creating a demand for what we call AI translators and technologists who can integrate generative AI not only into an application, but into a core business process like supply chain optimization and customer service. So we talked about customer service. You may not need 100 people to manage your inflow of customer inquiries, but you may need 10, and you may be able to build the bots to service the remaining part of it. So doing it the correct way. If you don't have good data, you don't have a good bot, you don't have good solution. If customers are frustrated, while you may be saving money, you have a really bad solution, and that's going to cost you market share eventually down the road. What I'm excited about is that it's creating a huge demand for AI translators and technologists who can integrate generative AI not just into an application, but directly into core business process like supply chain optimization and customer service. We talked about that customer service example that I mentioned earlier, but this is a massive new services market for us. So what I am cautious about is organizational inertia. So many companies are still sort of paralyzed with AI. They're letting people go. They're not hiring people because they think, well, AI should solve this. But they're waiting to see how AI, quote unquote, shakes out, which is wasting of critical time that they should be spending on, in my opinion, reskilling their workforce, investing in the tools, the low-hanging fruits, if you will, that will make their companies and teams more AI-enabled. The competitive risk isn't AI taking people's jobs. It's their competitors mastering the AI integration and leaving them behind. So our focus for our clients is future-proofing not only their business processes, but also our people by making them expert users of all these new tools.
And that will help you retain your employees as well, because this is an ongoing training program where their skill levels and their skill sets just constantly getting better and better and getting improved. They're going to be that 7-year person head of the pod.
Yeah, that's
one of these days. And while you're talking, with your retention rate of your employees, it sounds like you got enough people to start moving to other cities and expand this thing even more.
I don't have a supply problem. I have a demand problem.
Well, you said, you had how many applications sitting in the pipeline?
6,500 as of last week.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but they're all pre-screened and pre-vetted, so we know that the talent and the opportunity seekers are out there.
So in your opinion, you talked about people making the mistake, in your opinion, of just trying to hire the bodies instead of trying to hire people that you can train, and you got a little different tactic. What other common mistakes do you see, and what do you think might be coming down the pike for some of these Silicon Valley companies? I mean, what are some common? Not common
Yeah.
necessarily, just but what have you
There's-
seen that where you looked at it and went, that's going to fail, or that did fail?
Sure. So I think so when I see things that have failed, it is one relying on, I mentioned earlier, like AI will solve it. Well, AI could solve it, but if your data isn't ready, like data readiness, for example, like I see there's a joke out there where CEOs are saying, "What do we want? AI. When do we want it? Now. What do we want to do? We don't know."
Right.
You know, so that's
Yeah.
that. But the truth is that's pretty telling because you're seeing companies that want this solution super fast, but they don't know what it wanted to do, and their data internally isn't ready to support it. AI is supported by large language learning models. I mean, you have to have good data. It has to learn the data. It has to give you good suggestions based on that data. So if you've only got part of your data and you have siloed organizations, like siloed business units, for example, that don't share data, that might be on different platforms. First step is to get all that data in one spot and then build the right language model on top of it. Make sure it's constantly learning and make sure you're building the solutions on top of it. So I see that data readiness is a very overlooked problem that people are like, oh, well, it's going to take us a year to get there. Well, that's correct, but there's things you can do in parallel, but to get even readier, but that's the first step.
Another quick question. Okay, so just for our listeners, if pick one or two clients, I'm not naming any names, but this is what we do. This was the problem, or this was the problem. This is what needed to be resolved. I brought my team on board to do it. Just so the listeners understand, kind of.
Okay. There was a Fortune 10 company that had a number of technical gaps in that they needed to solve pretty quickly because it was creating compliance and risk problems for them. So they said, we need to fix these sort of problems. We need to you need to get a team or several teams to understand our architecture. Then we need to fix these gaps. Then we need to make sure we're building this right solution for these gaps. Then we need to make sure we're maintaining and iterating on top of that, because 2.0, 3.0, 4.0 will be part of our compliance roadmap. So essentially, let's call it $60 billion of risk. And they could not find the talent to plug in those holes and provide those solutions. Now, there's a couple of options they have. They can hire an expensive consulting firm, which is one option. They can, of course, that's a budget constraint. You can't throw $1 billion if you don't have it in your budget.
Right.
So they were like, what can we do to really, and some of the problems are also temporary. It only needed 6 months or 9 months or 12 months of attention until you move to the next and next and next. So they came to us and said, okay, can you build a skill set that allows them to know a little bit of data management, some cloud engineering, some testing, some full stack development, and some mobile development? Because those teams are going to be doing stuff for like 3 years, and we want them to align. We're building sort of like tiger team or this like special team to do all these things, but they got to be really specialized. We're like, and so like I mentioned, we reverse engineered the curriculum that they needed, all those things I mentioned, taught them all. We made sure that they had some of our top people in the middle and the senior of the pod model guiding them, and we deployed it. And after that company started with us with 10 people, and I think we just celebrated our 250th person inside of that company, because not only did they succeed in that project, they said, what else can you do? And the answer is we could custom train for a number of your problems as well. So fast forward today, they needed to fix the problems within 14 months. We went live with them in month 9. They asked to convert almost 40 people from that team to full-time employees at their company. Because we give them the option. So some of our clients want to eventually bring them into that's what makes us different than an outsourcing company. We protect the asset sometimes. Like you can't hire our people if I put them on your project, right? Right. We actually will allow people to hire our entry-level people, not our mids and seniors, but our entry-level folks as part of the model. So if you want to stay with us, you can. But if you want to go with a career there, you can too. And sometimes people pick and choose, but there's no reason that it's not a career pathway for people. So and people may ask, why do you do that? You're giving up your high-valued asset. The answer is the company will ask us to make more. They may want to convert 10 of them, but they're going to come to me for 100 down
Right.
the road. So
Right.
that's kind of how the model is a little bit different than traditional staffing or outsourcing.
Interesting. So your company is growing incredibly quickly. So your hair is on fire, right? And so what leadership habits, routines do you practice to help you maybe stay grounded, centered? You've got a family, you've got, running a business, you got to manage stress, what do you do?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, and that was early on. Our company has had no shortages of hair on fire moments, or, entrepreneurship is as you know, ups and downs, and this too shall pass, whether it be good or bad. So I think that's one of the things I've kind of conditioned myself a little bit is I don't get too high or too low about when things are bad, like, or things are we lose a deal, or a client decides not to extend, or they decide not to move in the direction with us, or whatever it may be. Okay, I don't like it, and I deal with it, but then I go to the next thing. The same thing. We win a huge deal. We get a 150 person contract. Great. Let's celebrate for a happy hour and then go back to work. So it's very much that. That's one thing. From a staying grounded and kind of self-care thing, I mean, first I think it was movement. I think I love tennis. As you mentioned, I play 2 or 3 times a week. It's something that I can actually focus on without thinking about work when I'm playing.
Yeah.
So that's something I made. So I recommend if there's something out there that allows you to focus on that thing, it could be cooking, it could be a movie, it could be going to a concert, whatever it is for you and that person, do a lot of it and put it on your calendar. Like, do it several times a week as much as you can. That, I think, is something my team knows, that when I have tennis on my calendar, and I believe on my calendar it says take kids to school. So nobody schedules that 30 minutes in the morning with me unless it's absolutely critical.
Right.
Because that's the time I'm talking to my kids, just chatting with them about the previous day, the current day, et cetera. And that's very important for me. And then, personal time. People always say, how do you, you should be working a lot more, or are you always working rather? It's probably better. I'm like, no, I'm not. My wife's a dentist. She's a full-time entrepreneur herself. And so we make time. We make sure we plan trips. We make sure we have a time for us on our calendar. Again, we have a 15-minute window every night after we put the kids to bed that just says ANK time. And if we have to chat about something with each other, we use that 15 minutes to stay connected and grounded and chat. So that's something that we use as a tool to help combat the getting swept up in all the business and entrepreneurship dealings and emails we all deal with. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good for you.
Yeah. So if you're mentoring somebody who's a young entrepreneur today, especially one looking to build a business that pairs profit and purpose, what piece of advice would you give them?
Profit and purpose. Okay.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah. No, it is. And it wasn't and for the record, it wasn't I intentionally set out to do. My goal was to build a great company, but I realized mid-journey that I can build a great company by having great purpose. So I do agree with that. So I think the first thing is, if you're passionate about a project, let's say you're passionate about veterans, make sure that purpose is your competitive edge. Don't just say, hey, I'm helping veterans, please work with me. Well, the answer is, I'm helping veterans because the way that I'm doing it is better than anyone else. It's bringing impact to those people, the demographics I'm serving. It's bringing wins to you, and it's impactful. So it's what I call evaluating the 4-win situation. Is it good for you, the entrepreneur? Is it good for the employee or the person you're serving? Is it good for the client you're selling it to? And is it good for the community? I mean, the community benefits when we create 100 jobs. The same way if an entrepreneur does that, if any entrepreneur that creates wealth, job creation, they're contributing to our communities and our society, which I'm a big fan of. So, we measure, one of the things we also focus on is I wanted to work at a company. When I left Accenture, it was a very large company, and I don't think I was very cut out to play the corporate game, which many people are. I just don't think I was going to be good at it. So I wanted to create a company that not only I wanted to work, not only others would want to work for, but that I wanted to work for. And in doing so, you've got to make it to where everyone wants to work for it. Otherwise, people will leave you. So that was one thing I did, making sure that you build a company where everyone's dialed in and on board with that. And then, lastly, we touched on it a little bit. Getting comfortable with the journey, loving the journey, because it's going to be ups and downs, wiggles of false hope, high moments, low moments, etc. I think being able to manage that complexity, but also, like you mentioned, being able to say no or firing clients, being able to pass certain opportunities because they don't fit, and moving into the direction where that's where the vision and the long-term play is. Those are things that I think have served me well that I would recommend.
So talking about vision. In the next 5 to 10 years with Interapt, what is your vision? What geographically you're national, it sounds like.
Well, we are national, and that happened due to the pandemic. Initially we were training people and building sort of training facilities in those locations like Atlanta, Cleveland, and Chicago. But after the pandemic, we went all virtual. And I thought when that happened, I was like, oh, our model's going to break. There's no way you can learn this difficult stuff online. Well, after we did a couple of them online, we found our pass rate went up from 84% to 96%. And I asked the teachers, the same ones who taught in person, now are doing it online. I said, this makes no sense. How is that possible? They said, well, we've whittled it down to 2 reasons. One, logistics, meaning they don't have to find babysitters to come to the class or get on a bus or find a friend to drive them to class or whatever. All the logistics are removed. They just go and log in from their house. The second is the questions were better, meaning people were more willing to type into a chat box rather than raise their hand and disrupt the class. So the questions were better. But what happened, they'd type in a question and like 7 other people would like it or thumbs up it, and they would stop the class and go over that concept. So everyone was brought along in a more efficient way. So in doing that, that's what allowed us to do this anywhere. So now we are. Kentucky's home. Kentucky's been very good to me and my family, as we've talked about. I'm bullish on, the Midwest. I love the Midwest. I've lived on both coasts, and but I believe that we've got to do stuff. Tier 2 and 3 cities like Louisville have to do something to maintain, compete, not lose population, have a place for our younger generation to build companies, come back to work for companies, et cetera, et cetera. So to me, the vision that I want to see in the next 5 to 10 years, for Interapt specifically, we're focused on AI delivery centers. We're training people up to provide the AI skills and the projects needed. It may not be year-long projects anymore. It may be 3-week implementations, but you do more of them. Every company needs a AI bot to handle supply chain, for example, or many companies do. Finance. There's a lot of things, HR, all these things can be automated and implemented in companies regardless of industry. So my vision for Interapt is moving Interapt into an AI delivery partner for a lot of these companies. And that's where I believe the market is heading. That's the first thing. The second thing with the community, I'm part of a couple of organizations that are really passionate about Louisville, that we believe that the next big, great company is going to be homegrown from within. It's not going to be recruited. And while there's tremendous amounts of, companies that are great to recruit, those scalable, those unicorns, those once in a lifetime sort of once in a generation sort of things, we believe can be nurtured from within. So I'm pretty big on helping other people achieve their entrepreneurial dream and vision. So that's something else I'm doing. So lastly, we are at about 3,200 people that have come through our model. My vision is 10,000 people. I think we can easily do. My initial vision was 10,000 in Kentucky. Right now we're at 3,200 around the country. So while we had to modify it a bit, we've still impacted tremendous amounts of people and families, which I think is good. But there's no reason we could not do this and have 10,000 people in our Commonwealth just working in sort of these future-proof jobs, these high-tech jobs, creating wealth, creating impact in our economy, our community, et cetera. So I'm an optimist of that regard. I believe there's phenomenal talent in Kentucky, and I'm looking forward to helping support that however I can.
One last question here. And that because when we started this thing out, you said, Jim said, well, we've known each other for a long time, and you and I both laughed. So, We have been good friends for a long time.
We have.
Are you still doing any stand-up comedy?
I was going to ask the same thing.
Because for our listeners,
this whole tech thing doesn't work out for
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
know,
this-
he's one of the funniest people on earth,
my
people.
gosh.
So
So the reason for the audience, back in my early years when I was at Accenture, I was told I needed to work on my public speaking. So I got some advice to join Toastmasters or maybe an improv comedy troupe. So I was in Chicago, and so Second City was an option. So I performed in I joined Second City. I scaled up pretty quickly, and I got to the final stage, and I wound up performing on the main stage. And it was fun. I was pretty good at it, and I was actually asked to audition for Saturday Night Live. So it was like, but that crossroads was like, should I continue my MBA and my job, or should I just take this 1 in 1,000 chance of being selected for SNL? So I picked the MBA and didn't go that route, but I love it. I dabble in it. It's a long answer, but the short answer is yes, I am still dabbling in it. I am doing improv here and there. I did give a speech just at University of Dayton not too long, like last month, where I told them the 3 lessons I learned from the improv stage that helped me in my entrepreneurship journey. So it's very much ingrained into my personality for sure. I like to make people laugh, of course, and but it's a great business skill I found as well.
I imagine it helps the culture around the office, and you're dealing with all these employees. They probably get a kick out of it. So I just had to bring it up.
I don't know if funny is one of the adjectives and they would use to describe me at work. They probably are scared, surprised that I actually have that in my repertoire.
That's great. Well, we can't thank you enough for coming and joining us.
My pleasure.
It's been very informative, very interesting. You have a fantastic company. You're very proud of that. And the ending here, I'm just going to leave you with this. If you followed us, you'll notice that the music has changed. And the reason why it's changed is this is my son's bluegrass music band. He is based in Owensboro, Kentucky.
Yay.
Works at the Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame. He's their technical director, and they also have this band called the Lowland Ramblers. And the Lowland Ramblers have just dropped their first album, and they're on any music platform that you listen to. And this is a song that he wrote. So we're going to use this as our intro and exit.
Congratulations, Blythe.
Yep.
Yes.
Proud of you, bud.
Great job, Blythe.